Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Let me go. I'm dual broadcasting in the essentials. I'm dual broadcasting in the chart patterns mastery. I'm dual broadcasting for the stream, the restream. So just let me know if you could hear me. Great. Just to let you know, I lost money on the opening in something. We did great yesterday, but I want to show you how you take something when the market's cracking and you don't have a lot of reasons to buy. So it's got to be a special situation. So let me show you what I'm talking about in here. So we're really into reversion to the mean, which means traders want to flatten before earnings. Now, inexplicably, PANW has earnings after the close. So you think that it's going to go back to unchanged. Right now it's up 6.9. Well, the whole market pulled it down on the opening down to here. That was the one to buy. Now, if you don't buy it there, you buy it on the bull flag. But that's a special situation. So just keep that in mind. Now, I did this one because pre-market it was trading a lot higher and I didn't have enough reasons. Believe it or not, maybe you do now. But just right here, we bought it on that. I was congratulating myself, and then it fell apart. So I did. You got to have those reasons. Here's another one. Now, how many of you know that I obsess about the hurricane stocks? So what happened? Yeah, well, let me show you. This is another special situation. So let me go show you what we're talking about. And I want to be sure everybody can hear me. I think so, yeah. So this is what I mean. So GNRC was not upgraded. It was mentioned positively in Barron's. But I hope you saw my free video or my weekly watch list about this. I obsessed about watching the tropical weather outlook. Why? Because I lived in Florida for a lot of my life. So I lived in Chicago 11 years. I've lived in Atlanta 15 years and the rest in Florida. So let me show you this. That's what I was watching. That's usually really good for GNRC. Keep in mind the stock got nailed because they said their retail business stunk. So just keep that in mind. They said their retail business stunk. So when you see this, perception, that's all it is. So what happened was this. It opened here. We had into buy calls under the market. A lot of times when the ES is down 8 million, a lot of times it'll open like at 108.5. We were being cute. Yeah, we were being cute, which I'm not thrilled about. So we missed that. So the options, where were the 110s on the opening? They were $1.33. Oh, well, that was a low. Probably you couldn't have gotten them there. As you see, they don't trade that many. But you want them to widen out the markets and maybe you can get them. As you see, that's $1.33, but the 111s are 340. So yeah, it's a relatively thin. So just, keep that in mind. Instead, I messed around with deer, like I said, and we lost money in that. And this is how I like to trade. So I like to take those special situations that are dragged down because of the overall market. So I like to do those special situations. So just keep that in mind in there of how I like to do them. So these that would revert because it has earnings and GNRC because of all the hurricanes were the way to go. Yeah, that was the way to go. And like I said, it was really difficult on the opening. But those are the kind of special situations you want. The other thing is we have this thing called box charts. So box charts are something I put on the chart patterns mastery every other day. Sunday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night. So most of them have worked. In fact, a ton of them have worked. But and we've had up that we didn't like the market until it got near it. It's not there yet, but near it. So all I'm doing is if I'm going to buy the indexes, I have to see some reason to buy it. So here's a bull flag. Yeah, it didn't work. So here's a bull flag, sort of work. Yep, it's choppy as heck. Not that easy. But there are little things you can use as a tell. So let me give them to you. Number one, when the ES was getting nailed way down here, the advanced decline was going up. So it just internally, that doesn't mean you go up, but it just means it's not down 2,000. So that's number one. So the other thing is, I watched some of the big stocks and they refused to go up on the opening. So you had to wait for them to stabilize, which they did. So they stabilized. And let me show you what we're talking about. So NVIDIA, did I screw up NVIDIA? Yeah, I traded tiny, but this is where on the alerts, I don't like putting NVIDIA. And the reason is because I get in, I get out, I get back in, and net, you come out ahead. But I just broke even right in here. I saw the little bull flag. I saw that it didn't work. And then I saw that little bear flag. I said, forget it. Yeah, well, that wasn't a good idea. But as you see, if you listen to other sites, on Twitter, that's not easy because you get faked out 8 million times. So you want a tighter consolidation. That's all I'm saying. A tighter consolidation. That's all you're looking for in these stocks, up and down. Now, the next thing I wanted to show you was this. I want to show, what's the weather site? That's a great question. So it's spaghettymodels.com. So it's not a site for thin people. So let me show you. So here's spaghetti. I mean, I obsess about this. I can't tell you how many times in Florida I had to throw all the lawn chairs into the pool because maybe there was a hurricane. So it's spaghettymodels.com. Let me see if it works. Sometimes I have to refresh the screen to get it. No, it worked. Let me try to put it in the social over there. Let's see if I can. There. Yeah. Hey, Kevin. It's nice to see you over in the social side. So, but this is what we looked at. So we looked at that. And this was hooking up, not hooking. So, they go into the cold waters of the Atlantic. And then all of a sudden it started to turn. And that's why I wanted to buy GNRC, but I was just too cute on the opening. So just keep that in mind. Too cute. Now, this is why overall I'm still nervous. Not this second. So, in fact, let me show you the box charts just so you get an idea so I don't have to recreate every one. Give me 1 second. So, well, I'll just do it this way. All we were doing in here is we were taking the objectives. Now, just because you're up one day doesn't mean you're going up forever. But I just want to show you some of the objectives. So I'm going to move all of this. And that, maybe this is the bottom. Don't get me wrong. But we were looking at this, not Generac. There, that arrow. It was close. It's an imperfect science. It's that zone. The NASDAQ in that zone. Yeah, it's there. So the YM, we were betting up here that it was going to go to the 50. I'm saying longer term, these could go lower. But just keep in mind in the the January swoon in 2022, you got a heck of these. You got this and then that. So you have your chances. Oversold rallies, still in a downtrend. Now you might say that looks like an uptrend, but it's right against resistance. That's where you have to look for reversal patterns at resistance. So that's what we're doing. So, but you'll have more than enough chance. I know everybody like that big, what's it called? Big Short, saying that he bought a ton of puts, and that's all fine. Just keep in mind, though, you could first go up to here before you go down to here. So in there. So that's what I'm watching. So in there. And I put a lot of these for clients in there. And like I said, that does not mean you have to go down today. But this is also what I'm watching. I love going over overall market perspective. So many times it does a symmetrical around the 50 moving average at the minimum. At the minimum, because on the way down, you get more panic. So that gets you right to in here, that area, that area. So all I'm doing is taking a symmetrical. That's eventually, I'm not saying now. So just keep that in mind. I'm not saying now. I know that's a lot of double negatives, but I'm not saying now. So, but those are the kind of things we're looking at. We're looking at the weekly. We're looking at the weekly too far from the 50. Well, not even at the 50. Almost every time they go to the 50. Oh, you can, this doesn't mean it's going there right now. Doesn't mean it's going there right now. What it does mean to me is that eventually it's going to go there. But right now, I mean, it just means to me that if I see a rally, I'm not going to chase a rally. I'm going to look for reversal patterns to short a rally. So I just want to let you know that. The other thing, what made markets go down? This whole thing back here in 22 was the bond market, because the yields, I know you're probably sick of me talking about it, but the yields are where they were in 2010. One of our loyal subscribers on Chart Patterns Mastery pointed that out. So that usually means that there's other places to put your money. Other places to put your money. That's all it means. And of what that also means is probability. So the probability of a bullish pattern working when the bond market is in the doldrums goes down dramatically. That's all I mean. Goes down dramatically. So the ideal is for the bond market to do what it's doing today, going up. So you want to see a positive divergence, not just one day. You want to see these bonds go like up here and the ES go and fill that gap. Let me take off the drawings. And then it'll form a positive divergence. But the thing that made the markets go down is the bond market. You need to see the bond market soar. I mean, that's at least what I see. You need to see the bond market soar, and we're not seeing that. So right now, I still think you haven't filled this gap. So I want to short rallies until proven otherwise. So let's go to a short-term chart. And what do you see in here? Yeah, you could say you see a little positive divergence, but it's not really a reversal candle. There's all this. When all heck breaks loose with the markets, the only thing I use is the 50 and price support and resistance. So you see that this stopped at price support and resistance right in here. Now, choppy, yeah, other things work. They work great. But in this type of market, I just use price support and resistance. It's a lot and chart patterns. So, and the MACD, but keep in mind on a down thingy, the oversold can stay oversold if the criteria that made it go down in the first place doesn't bounce. That's all I mean. So just, keep that in mind. So what do we do when you have this? Well, if you want to play from the short side, day trading, you have to look for a reversal pattern. That to me is not a reversal pattern. That's just slop. So you want to see this, that. Yeah, that was a good one. So you're seeing that it rallied to resistance and then it had sort of like a topping or a bear flag right here. Then you had a bear flag right here. But you got to see those. We don't have anything that has any semblance of that at the moment. That's what I wanted to show you. Just nothing that gives that kind of semblance. So if I see it, great. I don't see it now. Now, if I see these bonds break above this, so above this sort of, well, it's way before your time of talking about a Sadaka pattern. Yeah, that's breaking up is hard to do. But if it gets over this, which is going to be tough, and gets up to, let's say, 121, and the market still, the ES and the NASDAQ go down to fill gaps, yeah, then we'll have a great divergence. But we don't have enough of one yet. So that's how I look at it. Yeah, just to let you know, we took a lot of money. I can't pronounce. I'll just put Kiva. We put them in 2-year notes. You know, I just don't see the reason to go in the market when the yield on the S&P is like 1.8. I just don't see the reason. Yeah, definitely. That's a good one. I could come up with some from the 90s and 2000s, but most of those aren't safe for work. So I can't talk about certain things. I'm just not going to. So I'll do the old ones, the old ones. So it's by the way, Aaron, well, I want to go over this because I think it's a big deal. So the first thing is advanced decline. So the advanced decline's holding in there. The bonds are holding in there somewhat. I still don't know about this as a intermediate term swing trade. That's the problem. So what happens is you're like, well, you know, I'm not sure of that. And then I go and buy Nvidia and I have two tie to top stop. And I think you see why I had two tie to stop because it still doesn't look good. So this was on the box charts. This is what I want, whether it's a 5 minute, a 1 minute. I'm looking for this. I'm looking for a 1 minute, like I said, any time frame you want. I want to see something repair damage, and keep in mind that's a daily chart, and then form a bull flag over, let's say, the ATR trailing stop on a 5 minute. So then the direction is known. So that's the way I want to play this. So I don't have them yet. In fact, on the charts I did last night, I didn't have any. And that's the problem with Nvidia. Give me 1 second. So all I'm seeing in here right now is like Nvidia. I don't see yet that bottom. Now, if I want to play it ultra short term, do I see a bottom? Maybe. The problem with this, I like doing the tighter the pattern, the tighter the stop. See that pattern right here? If you short it here, that's look on the right. You'll see a black a box. So if you short at 423.07, you're going to admit defeat like a point higher. On the other hand, with this, and I call this like a slumbering bull flag, which means it took time to develop. But if you do this, now give me a second. I don't know where I put it, but I'll show you. The problem in here on a short-term chart, let's say a 15-minute chart or a 2-minute. Let's take a 2-minute. So you see that right there. Yeah, that could be a bull flag. The problem is it's not tight. So if you buy it here, where are you going to admit defeat? Down here, like 3 points lower. I'm not sure you want to do that. So sure, that could go higher. So, but yeah, it could go higher. The best way probably to play it is go and buy some out of the money calls. But they expired today. That better break up or they're going to just lose value so quick. So if you want to partake, you buy it there and you stop yourself down here, but it's still a point. So I'm just having a tough time with that. But I like tight flags. Tight flags. So that's what I'm doing right now. Sure, this could work right here, but it's really tough to do a stop. So if this goes bonkers, so let's go put the ES up here. It could go bonkers today because you're finally working off some kind of MACD like that. So you're getting a little stewy pattern, which is when you can just highlight that. The problem in here is a lot of people got hooked here. So it's not cut and dry. Let's just put it that way. It's not cut and dry. So, but let's put that on a 15-minute. It's also now it's overbought with a MACD at resistance. Sure, it could plow through it, but I'm just trying to go on probability. That's all I'm doing. I think the markets are acting okay. So don't get me wrong. I think they're acting okay. But like you see, any little downtick, some of these just go straight down. I mean, it's very hard to try to combine relative strength with charts. So, NVIDIA, if the markets go up, what could you do? I'm not going to do it, but I'll give you an example. The problem is it has to go up fast. So, let's go into NVIDIA. Yeah, there it goes. Let's go and look at today's. Well, let's just put it this way, earnings are next week. So, we could go in there. They're not going to lose a lot of premium. But, right here, you got a bull flag. Do you go and buy the 427.5 calls? Well, you better be right because they'll go down real fast. Can you buy the ones that include earnings? Way out of the money. Remember, you're betting on this just going up today, not staying in over the weekend. See, that's the kind of thing a lot of traders do. I'm not doing it, but they go and buy like the 500 calls because where are they going to go? They're not going to get hit because the ones 5 points out of the money or 5 farther out are only 50 cents lower. The problem is if it has a 5-point rally, you're just not going to make enough. So just keep that in mind. A bull flag and a bear flag are just consolidation patterns. That's all they are. No more, no less. So if you see something go down and then it does that, that's a bear flag. And if it goes up and does that, all it's doing is working off an overbought condition. That's why I always talk about working it off well. So in this type of market, the other thing, it has to have lack of resistance on the upside. So short term, yeah, you could play them, but you can see these there, bear flag. So this one was too sloppy. I wouldn't have played it. It doesn't have a tight pattern. So I would have played that one. So there are times, and I'm being picky. Just keep that in mind. I'm being picky. So, like I said, yeah, this could be a bull flag. And I didn't take it because the stop was too wide. So there are a lot of times I miss things. Don't get me wrong. A lot of times I miss things, but at least you saw a teeny inverse head and shoulders right there. So now, like I said, though, a bull or bear flag against resistance is less likely to work like this. So you had a big move up, you had a consolidation, but you have all those people hooked up here. So it's less likely to work. So, but that's how I do them. The other thing, and the easy one to identify, is a Brecher ledge. Yeah, named after me. Somebody actually on Stock Twitch said, "Do you know the coincidence that it's called Brecher ledge?" It was pretty funny. It's a bear flag with a horizontal line. So it's just a bear flag and it's a horizontal line. So they're around all the time. So in a downtrend, you're going to find more bear flags, no doubt. When you have here where the market has an oversold rally, I'm not doing anything on the downside till I see a reversal candle. There was a reversal candle, but now I don't see anything. So I'm not doing anything in here. So the only thing I would have done is buy NVIDIA. That's the only thing I would have done. The problem is where I wanted to buy it, it has to have that exit velocity. So that's like 425. Yeah, it would have worked right in here. The problem is, to admit I'm wrong, it's a 1.5. So I didn't do it. But yeah, it worked. And like I said, I am not shorting anything until things hit resistance and then you see a reversal pattern. So a reversal is like this, that, where a red candle takes back a big green. I don't look at all the tiny ones. All I do is I look if I can connect a trend line, up or down, and up or down. And that's how I do it. Like I said, there's no reason to screw around on the downside until you get better tells. On the upside, sure, you could do an intra short-term trade, but just keep in mind where the resistance is. Yeah, right in this schmutz right here. So then we can go to a MACD, and I'll show you a couple of things with the MACD. There's your hourly. Yeah, you could say that's a positive divergence. A lot of times that's hindsight. But how about on a 15-minute? This is where we talk about if it works off an overbought well. So here it was overbought and it stayed within this bullish pattern. So on the other hand, now you're up against this. Now, if it gets over that, yeah, it could go to here, which is fine. I don't really care one way or the other. I just want to see setups. That's all I want to do is see setups. So did I miss NVIDIA? Yeah. This, in hindsight, yeah. Keep in mind, that's all at 30 cents. So it's a slow day, and I didn't short anything, and I bought something on the opening that just didn't work. I bet on the market going up, which I was right, and I picked the wrong stock. No, I'm not going near place that bearish trade in Generac. There, I mean, it's in Barron, so it's not going to go down, and there are no hurricanes yet. Plus, this 115 has been a big nut to crack, and now it's over it. And this is exactly what we're talking about how it works off an overbought. Does it work it off by sitting here in this area? So I'm not going near that on the short side. I wanted to buy it. We had spreads for months that worked great, and then we were out of them. but no way I want to play that on the downside at all, especially with Barons and that. So it's finally over the 50. So look at that. It has nothing up there. So I want to look to short stocks that are under their 50 and they're forming some kind of reversal. So I mean, you might be right, but I'm not going to do that. So I'm trying to go on probability. So like now, there is no reason to short the market. Now, let's see if the probability is in your favor. Number one, it's sort of at support and it's really oversold. I use a 4-hour with the NASDAQ. So, yeah, it's oversold and it's pretty far from these, but I think you see the resistance zones. Yeah, I could get over that. There's a lot of people don't believe any rally. So, yeah. Now, just to let you know about a bear flag, what you were talking about, because it's a great question. So, it's not a tell, it's a pattern. I have a tough time doing that kind of pattern that's sloppy. I want a tight bear flag. That's what I want, like that. And that's even no bargain, but that. So I want a tight one. So but I'd much rather have it if there wasn't a wick that got under it. So just keep that in mind. Bond trades, well, let's go over it. Now, let me just tell you, somebody asked a great question yesterday. A great question of why have bonds gone down? I mean, it's a great question. So I'll show you a couple of reasons. Number one, financing the deficit and the Fed raising, but I think it's this. The Dow Jones Commodity Index, that's the VIX. I'm like, that isn't the Dow Jones. This is the agricultural index. And see, it was up here. That's where it was way back here. So that inflation, I think, hurt bonds. So how about the DBC, the one that includes oil? Heck yeah, that's up here. There, it's trying to break up. So, that hurts bonds. So that kind of inflation thing. So that's now, that being said, what are you noticing is those are starting to calm down. But the bonds are on their low. So, yeah, I mean, I totally see your idea of the TLT, but I wish that it had a better constructive pattern. So I just wish it had a more constructive pattern. In fact, I'll go back and show you. I mean, I think it's a great idea because the inflation has calmed down a bit. So let's just look. So I'm trying to find one for you. So what I'm seeing in here is this. I want to combine it with a chart pattern. So first thing, I want to see if there's resistance on the way up. Now, is TLT okay to use? So if you want TLT, just to let you know, is 20-year. So as you see in here, you don't have any long-term pattern. Here you had a little one. That's to me, a counter trend rally. But look how long it took to repair that damage. So then you're like, well, I want to play it shorter term. you still don't have the stuff to repair the damage. So, I mean, that's how I look at it, Corey. Now, that being said, I really don't like the idea of doing something above the market because the option prices are so cheap, it's hard to do any kind of spread. So if I did, let's say, a 94.97, you're buying it for $1.20, and the most you can make is $1.80, and you got to live and die for 28 days. I just don't have it. If I see a bull flag, that's different. If I see something like this, but now it's overbought. So you might say, well, how do you know it's overbought? It just is up here, and this is consolidating at resistance. So if this gets down to here, and this retains the bullish structure, I'll be much more inclined to do a trade for next week. So other thing, yeah, I can, Aaron, do you know about the disaster if I was long puts on Monday and the guy next to me, we went upstairs because I was afraid about the system collapsing and I didn't want to do trades with people that couldn't clear their trades because then you have to split the loss. I wasn't going to do that. So I just stayed upstairs. The person next to me was down $54 million and he left the country. So you can go look it up. It's in there. But this is the thing you'll find interesting, Aaron. So the bond market was going down. So, and that's one reason there was a crash. So I know a guy that was long up the, long call. Well, he was short straddles also. And he's like, the market's going down. I'm going to short the crap out of the bonds. Well, the bonds went up 4 points. So he didn't have a good day. So that's usually in a crash, they rush for the bonds. So it's, and those kind of things happen. Pretty brutal. So the other thing, in answer your question, you probably want to know, and thanks for putting 87 and not 1929. My daughter's 23 and her friend was doing a book report and she said, she wants to do it on the crash. And she's like, you were there for 1929, right? Yeah, thanks. So this is what I wanted to show you. Because, I'm supposed to do overall market perspective. So I'll show you. So that's the 20. And in answer to your question, the things that made the bonds go down are starting to stabilize. So yeah, this could have an oversold rally and answer your question. But let's go to a weekly. So the weekly is down in the dumps. And by the way, you asked about a bear flag. There's a bear flag. Look how many points of contact you could connect and look at the prior move. That's pretty cool. So, but I want to go back to 1999. Yeah, my voice cracked. I'm thinking of 1987. So, and let's see if I could go back all the way. 1999. So what happened? The bond market got toasted. But I'm going to put it on the right. The NDX went straight up. Yeah. The internet craze. Just like now it's gone straight up because of the AI craze. So let me just show you. I hope this helps. That doesn't mean to go and, mortgage the house and buy puts. But this is what I wanted to show you. So it got trashed in 1999, but the market kept going up because the internet craze. When did this pop? Well, on a daily, you could connect a lot of trend lines, and that was it. But just like last year, then you got that rallies, these ugly rallies if you're short, but then a reversal candle. So you're not going to sell the top, but look at that. You get the direction right. So I hope that helps for you. In there. Now, let me just tell you something again. Not again like I'm, condescending. I mean, again about GNRC. This is one of those things where, heck yeah, it's overbought. It's overbought, but this is what you look for. Here's a bull flag on a 4-hour chart. Well, yeah, I was going to say that's not GNRC. There's your GNRC bull flag right there. So the problem is I was scared to death to buy it because the whole market was cracking. So as you see, it got overbought, but it still retained its bullish structure because it's trying to hook back up. So I wouldn't do it until I see that. This is where you want to short it. See that tight pattern? That's where you want to short it. We don't have that yet, whether it's a daily, a 4-hour, nothing has that yet. So I hope that helps. And give me 1 second. Right now. So you see what's going on in here. So somebody asked, is there going to be short covering into the weekend? And I just didn't have enough reasons to do it. So now you got this. You got that resistance right there. So that's a reversal candle. If the opposite of a dark cloud cover is a piercing pattern, but you could have 8 million in here. I look for the big candles, the big red and the big green. That's what I look for. So I would have loved to see a big green without this resistance. So if it gets over that, yeah, it could go all the way to here. Doesn't mean you have to bet on that. So it doesn't mean you have to bet on that. But, on our site, I'm trying to show bear flags all the time or bull flags. I don't know what you call that, but let's look right now. Let's look at the 440 calls for this week. Well, they're going to be up. We know they're up in hindsight. But let's just look. So we're talking about, let's say, the 440 calls. So you timed it perfect. I mean, perfect. Well, it would be nice if I had today's to make an example. So sorry about that. That's the problem. That's the 430s. They're 1 point out of the money and they're only $1.50. That's brutal. You got to be perfect. And that's what I'm talking about. It's perfect. And if you want to do the 425s, you could do that. But the problem is you're risking $400. I just can't do that. So I just didn't do it. So I'll show you something sort of cool. So I would do this. The stock's 429. Where is the resistance in this sucker? Well, you see the resistance. I would do this. I would go and put this in the 430 calls. Now, obviously, I could be an idiot if it goes up 50 points. But let's just put this in here. I am not buying them. I'm not buying them. All I'm saying is let's look what happens in an hour if this is 427. So keep in mind, this has to go to 432 just to break even, which it can do. This stock's a monster, but I just wanted to show you what you're up against. And on a Friday, you get this little thing where you might say, well, that was a top in Amazon, like right here. The problem is that's 10 cents. It's just not worth it. Sorry. So that's the kind of top you're looking for. The problem is on a Friday. On a Friday, you're just not going to get a lot of bang for the buck. If this works, it's like 30 cents. It's just not worth it. So I don't see the things to do. And by the way, don't get mad at me on the YouTube channel, Heather, if like GNRC stops trading and like the president, like, you know, goes to jail or something, stock goes down 20 points. You'll hate me. But no, overall, the odds are I need to see a real reversal pattern for that to. I'm not doing it into the hurricane season. Now, one thing I did share in the chart patterns mastery was about Bitcoin. Yeah, that's where I put the arrow 2 days ago, right there. Because students are going to have to sell their Bitcoin to pay for the student loans. So once that's broke that, you respect the break in either direction. Just to let you know, Amazon, Meta, so many had triangles that got broken to the downside, not the up. So, keep that in mind. But that was a good one. So I'm not doing it. If this is what we looked at. We looked at doing this. Yeah, it gapped up on us, so I refused to buy it here. And I was an idiot. I refused to buy it. So, but it worked. So that's BITI, but now it's at support. I just want to show you that. And like I said, to me, it's all percentages. So now you got NVIDIA right here. It sold off all of what? 50 cents. So where are those August 430 calls? $1.52. That's what I was telling you. You got to have a massive rally. Now you might say, well, how did you know it would go down? It was at this resistance. So I just couldn't do it. How about the ES? Why did it stop going up? That, I guess. But here you go with, sure, it could try to work off this oversold by forming something that will give it enough energy to plow through this. So just keep that in mind. I'm definitely watching that next week, but I'm definitely watching this gap on the left. So I have two things to watch. And the other thing I'm really interested in is the other Robinhooder stocks. What are the AMC doing? Yeah, it's getting nailed, but it's already so cheap. So I'm just saying that even if markets go up, there's no way I'm buying Robinhood stocks. So just keep that in mind. I am not buying Robinhood stocks. Maybe I'm dead wrong. But, like you saw here, I could not in good conscience buy at resistance. Just couldn't do it. So PANW has earnings, like I mentioned, after the close. I don't know why they're doing that. So I'm like, maybe we could buy some cheap calls or cheap puts. They're not cheap. So the 210 calls, 2.5 points out of the money are 4. So I'm not doing a darn thing in there. That's all you need is to get assigned on a $200 stock. So I'm not doing it. So far, to me, non event. All I know is you couldn't buy them, you couldn't sell them. Ultra short term, I'm sure you could find something like that right there, some inverse head and shoulders thingy, but that's a little rough. So you're playing with fire doing that in a downtrend. So I haven't done anything yet. So in there, Apple, the thing about Apple is it basically fulfilled its downside objective. That was also on these box charts. Going right here, yeah, that might be a bear flag, but it finally hit some support. So I have a tough time in here playing Apple to the downside. Plus, they have a big buyback. So I'm having a tough time. Now, there is something else we do at the end of the day. I screwed it up yesterday because I didn't do it. But I want to show you just a little trader trick. It might not work for you, but companies can't buy back stock the last 10 minutes. They usually voluntarily don't buy back stock within 5 weeks of earnings. So that's not mandatory, but it's mandatory they can't buy back the last 10 minutes. Go and check SPX on the very close yesterday. There you go. So we looked at the 375s. I didn't do it. But I'm telling you, that happens a lot. So sometimes I get down to like 25 cents, not if it's up here. I'm talking about if it's close to the strike. So because companies can't buy back stock, that's just a little trick. So right now, what am I going to do on the close? Well, I'm not sure. Yeah, that's all you want to hear. But no, I'm not sure. So I don't have an identifiable pattern. We had that little thing right there. But you're going way against the grain. Just keep that in mind. So right now, what am I going to look at the end of the day? Well, we're going to have to watch that right there. So when I see that when it got up against resistance, yeah, darn right, I'm not going to buy up there. So now the problem is that right there is not that big a move. It's all of 4 points. So it sort of puts you in purgatory right now. You don't know what to do. Long term, I think we're going there. I just don't know today. Now, you see the little bear flag. That's a bear flag. The problem is the support. So that's all of 4 points. Now, I'll tell you, if this is right here, right up here with 5 minutes to go, I'll look to buy the 43.80 puts. I'm not doing it now. But right now, I just don't see the reason to do anything. Unfortunately, it's just not there to do. And I'll tell you, the longer that I see the ES futz around here, the next thing I'm going to do is see if the internals are deteriorating. Like I said, that's not that big a move. So let's go look. No, they're not deteriorating. They're not doing a darn thing. So now, so keep that in mind. Now, I want to go back to those NVIDIA. That wasn't a trade, by the way. That was an example of how premium can get destroyed. That's all I meant. Still $1.55. But keep in mind, this needs to go to 431 and a half just to break even. It's tough. So I just want to show you by the end of the day, if there's like a bull or bear flag, sure, you could mess with options. But right now, they just have too much premium for me. Let me look. That's a good question. Let's look. Are you talking about on a 15-minute SM77? Yeah, the problem is that that's just not enough for me to mess around because by the time it decisively breaks, that's all of 2 points. So I wish it had nothing underneath. So, but it's just not enough for me. Like this, I didn't buy this because it was just a sloppy, not tight pattern. So now, don't get me wrong. Yeah, maybe it plows down here, but I'm just going on support and resistance. Yeah, there goes that connect the trend lines. But by the time, look at this, I know everybody's like, oh, that's a bear flag. I would have made a fortune. Just keep in mind that it would have stopped you out right here. Nobody shows that part. Now, if you want to go back in, it's just slow. So I'm just telling you, it's not perfect. Now, I'd rather do it with the wicks. And when you do the wicks, it doesn't show you a darn thing. So that's how I look at it. So thank goodness we didn't. This is all about that red line. Just wasn't there to buy anything. Oh, let's go and look at that. Hey, Look at that, SM. Yeah, it worked. Now I'm dying to see if this breaks like it is it gonna stop here? So I'm gonna put an arrow for you. You'll see it when I share my charts later. I'm dying to see if it stops right there. Not the moving average, the support. But just to show you. So I just want, that's sort of a cool thing to watch in hindsight. So you could get mad at me if I didn't short 100 contracts. No, just kidding. But that's a good thing to look at. The problem is it's very thin out there. So I'm not going to jump on anything till the end of the day. So Heather, anytime you have questions, let me know when I'm on. So thanks for being with me. Take care, and I'll talk.